Yes, we get the point. Get on with it! Welcome back to the Order, you Star Wars enthusiasts. We finally have it. The Kanan Jarrus Legacy Lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge and Shopdisney. Join me as we take a look at all the features on this lightsaber replica. We'll take a look at the size and weight and see how faithful this is to the screen design. Of course, we'll spin through the electronics and see how the motion sensitivity stacks up. And lastly, we will compare this against some of Disney's other saber designs. If you enjoy this video, it would be amazing if you could leave a like and subscribe.
Help a veteran get a warm meal.
Let's get in! This saber comes in one of Disney's grey crates, which are designed to look like in-universe Kyber crates. This crate does have something extra, this little bit of Arabesh, which I believe says Jedi Padawan, Caleb Dune, Kanan Jarrus. If I'm wrong on that, please correct me in the comments. That's enough about the box. Let's get in! First things first, we have some form of instructions. No thank you. Starting off, the design is pretty faithful to what we see in Star Wars Rebels. Gold Star Disney. Taking a look at the different sections, the pommel is nice and clean. Disney are actually very good at hiding their legal guff, and you can just about make it out there around the rim of the pommel. Most of the other stuff is on stickers, which come off very easily these days, though there is a tiny little CE there, which is a bit disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. Along the handle on the top, you have this rubber grip, which is pretty much covering the entirety of the hilt, and then on the reverse you have this ribbed grip section. Don't be rude.
They're ribbed for your pleasure.
This all certainly feels like rubber to me. At the top of the handle you have this control box, which is slightly reminiscent of the Luke Skywalker control box from Return of the Jedi. It's identical in appearance to the control box used on Ezra's second lightsaber, don't know about the third, but it includes the nice green and red arrows there, unlike Ezra's Legacy Lightsaber, which ignited by moving the sort of switch box up and down. This has a specific up-down light button effect here, which is, it's okay. I mean, the fact that they've got the ignition on this control box is a good start. I personally would probably have preferred one that was that and you move that up and down. But personal preference, which one of those would you have preferred? The Ezra style or the Luke Skywalker style? Moving up the hilt, you have these pins over here and here, which are very reminiscent. Again, we see these on a couple of lightsabers. In particular, we've seen it on the Ezra second lightsaber. We've also seen it on the Galactic Star Cruiser lightsaber. And of course, we also see it on Anakin's Graflex. And then lastly, we move up to the emitter itself. This and Ezra's third lightsaber are the only two lightsabers I know of that have this guard section at the top. It's different, and different is always good in my view. The design of this saber is a firm fan favourite, and the fact that we've now got this released from Galaxy's Edge, for me, is a big plus. Disney have done an overall good job, the design is clean, the hilt feels good. I did have an initial reservation when I took this out that it felt a bit light, but actually the more I'm sort of holding it, the balance on this is actually pretty good. So I've gone from feeling very much on the fence to very comfortable with this. Overall, I think Disney get an 8 out of 10 for design faithfulness and a bit of a drop in the score because frankly this thing is massive. So bearing that in mind, let's take a look at this compared to some of Disney's other infamous overcompensators. Starting off with Disney's worst offender, the Cal Kestis. So already we've now established this is not the biggest. There's how it stacks up against the Graflex. I would argue, if you look at that compared to the Graflex, it's too big. Unfortunately, the Graflex for me is the perfect size. The Yoda. Alright, let's see how we do. Arguably, that's fine because proportionality applies and Yoda is tiny compared to Kanan. Even the Ezra, to me, shows that this is just slightly oversized. The length is probably about right. For me, it's more about the girth.
That's what she said!
Weight-wise, this thing's crazy light. So, my ye olde scales, don't fail me now, don't you fall off. Just over a pound in weight. That's crazy light considering the size on this saber. Compare that to its next size equivalent, which is going to be the Cal, which comes in at an absolutely monstrous 2.5 pounds. Unbelievable. So I think we've established this thing's super light. And light is good because it means that you can carry this on your belt, which can't be said for all of the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers, but it does also make this feel a little bit cheap, if I'm honest. Speaking of attaching this to your belt, that's where this lightsaber really is unique. In the show, Kanan would split the saber into 2 sections so that it wasn't immediately identifiable as a lightsaber, and he'd carry those 2 sections on his belt and then unite them when he wanted to use this. Well, Disney have kept that functionality, and you therefore get 2 different belt attachments. Yay! And here they are. Yeah, they look pretty weird, don't they? Certainly not your usual cover tech. So, let's look at the separation then, and then see how these work. Unfortunately, there's no quick release here like there is in the show. You have to spin the whole emitter section. Oh my goodness! And then you have the saber like that. Sad times, I know. For this section, you have this belt attachment. I'm not going to show you this on my person because nobody needs to see that. But, to attach it, it's literally just a case of slap that on like that. That was quite tough. The belt clip did struggle to get past some of the ribbing here. But it also is leaving a bit of a mark. I don't know if you can see that. I have attached this once already, and it's already leaving a mark on this rubber handle, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, arguably this doesn't want to look perfect anyway. You might want to weather this up because Kanan was on the run all the time and blah 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 blah, so this would be mucky. So it's no bad thing if it gets a bit scuffed, but equally, if you're wanting your hilt to be perfect, don't put this on. It is very snug once you're on that. It's not coming off, and when this is on your belt, it's going to take some real movement for this to come off, which is nice, and it means that it's hard to get off. But you can see there, that's just from me putting it on. So if you're precious, it's not possible. If you're wanting your hilts to stay perfect, don't put the belt on. In terms of the emitter section, that comes with this, and this just simply goes like that. Job done. And then that sits on your belt. The longer bit of the hilt would be on the back of your body, and this would be toward the side. And then you marry the 2 together. So wonderful. If you wanted to cosplay Kanan, this actually would allow you to do it. Interestingly, you also have to get the saber into this layout in order to insert a blade. They didn't go with their new thinner twist blade system. They've gone with the traditional blades, which use the sort of teeth, so it's still insert, push down, and then twist. And there you go. There's your blade. In theory, if you wanted to, by all means, you could ignite that and that's ready to go. But this is where I have a bit of an issue with this. Because of the design of the emitter, which does get thinner, it doesn't allow for the black section, which has the teeth in the blade. So the only way for them to keep that design was to make it so that you have to insert the blade and then run it all the way. That felt wrong. Then you screw the emitter back on. And there you go. For me, one of the best features, and the reason that I picked Disney over Hasbro, is the quick release of the blades. The fact that with this you have to unscrew an entire section of the hilt before you can even get the blade out immediately is a downgrade on what they've done before. What possibly would have been sensible would have been to have used the new thinner blade system, which would have allowed them to keep all of the designs in place, and they just had to twist. But for reasons unknown, they decided not to do it. There you go. Anyway, let's get into the electronics then. So, as a starting point, I actually really like that ignition. It's fairly loud. It's not the loudest, but it's fairly loud. There's a little bit of a pause before it settles into that hum, which is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. In terms of motion control, it's picking up enough. It's not bad at all. Okay. Couple of clash effects, and the blade does the usual. Basically, it sits broadly in line with other Legacy lightsabers. The ignition is nice, and I do like it's got a bit of a rawness to the hum. The blade brightness is still pretty good. Even the bit in the day that I showed you there, it shows up as pretty bright, but in the dark, this thing looks beautiful. Spinning this thing is a little bit tricky. I've got tiny little man-child hands, so maybe those of you with big hands will find this a bit better, but for me, I found that the saber was a bit unwieldy from a spinning point of view. But overall, motion sensitivity is pretty good. It's on par with other lightsabers in the Legacy line. The blade brightness is good, and I don't really have a complaint about the electronics. So where do we sit with this lightsaber when comparing it to the rest of the Galaxy's Edge line? I have to say at the start, I was very much on the fence with this. The weight of it caught me off guard completely, and my initial thought was, ugh, this feels pretty big and pretty cheap. But the more I've messed around with this, and the more I've had it in hand, granted again, I have tiny man-child hands, that's okay. You know, this feels okay. I can still get a complete grip around it from middle finger to thumb.
That's what she said.
So I can get good purchase on it. The rubber gripping makes this feel very solid and secure in the hand, so that's good. The overall saber, even though it's light, does feel very balanced, so that's a very good thing as well. Overall, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this lightsaber from Disney. If you're a Star Wars Rebels fan, and if you're a Legacy lightsaber collector, this is definitely worth picking up. Can I say that Disney smashed it? Probably not this time, but they did good.